Hello, my name is Rachel, and for 23 years I was a devoted wife. My husband, Mark, and I built a life together, raised 3 wonderful children, and went through every storm that marriage threw our way. I thought we had made it. I thought after everything, we had reached a stage where nothing could break us. I was wrong. It happened a week ago. Mark had been acting strange all day, distant yet oddly calm. At first, I thought it was just one of those days where stress from work weighed on him. But as the hours passed, I noticed the way he avoided my gaze, how he barely spoke during dinner, how his hands trembled ever so slightly when he reached for his glass of water. Then later that evening, he walked into the living room where I was sitting, took a deep breath, and said the words that would tear my world apart. "Rachel, we need to talk." Something in his voice sent a chill down my spine. I set my book aside, my heart suddenly pounding. "Okay," I said, forcing a smile. "What is it?" Not here, his voice was measured, almost rehearsed. That was the moment I knew something was terribly wrong. I followed him to the kitchen, my stomach twisting in knots. Was it the kids? Was something wrong? Was he sick? My hands felt clammy as I pulled out a chair, watching. As he sat across from me, Mark folded his hands together, staring down at them for a moment. Then he took a deep breath and looked me in the eyes. "I've been having an affair." The world stopped, everything around me. The walls, the floor, the air itself collapsed in on me. I blinked, my breath catching in my throat. "What, for 2 years now?" He continued, his voice steady, as if he were telling me something, as casual as what he had for breakfast. I felt my body freeze. 2 years? I forced myself to breathe, to process what he had just said. My voice came out as a whisper. Mark hesitated, then Elena. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Elena was his co-worker, a woman I had met more times than I could count. A woman who had sat across from me at company dinners, who had smiled at me, who had even complimented my dress once. Rage, betrayal, confusion, it all crashed into me at once. "Why are you telling me this now?" I choked out. Mark exhaled, as if this were just as hard for him. "Because I'm leaving," he said. It felt like a knife had been dragged across my heart. My voice shook. "I'm moving forward with Elena," he said almost gently. "I can't keep living a lie, Rachel. I haven't been happy for a long time." The words sliced through me. I clenched my fist under the table, my vision blurring with tears. "A long time," I whispered. "We've been married 23 years, Mark. We built a life together, a family." "I know," he said, his voice calm, controlled. "And I don't regret any of it, but I need to do this." I stared at him, waiting for the guilt to break through, for some sign that he was remorseful, that he felt something, but there was nothing. Just cold certainty. A part of me wanted to beg him to stay, to ask him to think about our children, about everything we had built together. But another part of me, the part that was breaking apart by the second, refused to let me. I swallowed hard. "Then go," I whispered. Mark blinked, clearly surprised. Moments ago, I had been clutching onto the life we built, and now I was the one pushing him away. But I meant it. Something inside me had snapped. I refused to let him sit here, acting like this was some rational conversation, while he destroyed everything we had built. Mark hesitated, as if waiting for me to change my mind. But when he realized I wouldn't, he stood up and walked toward the bedroom. And that's when I saw it, a duffel bag already packed. My stomach twisted. He had planned this. He had already decided to leave before he even told me. Tears burned in my eyes, but I refused to cry. Not in front of him. Minutes later, he emerged, bag slung over his shoulder. he hesitated at the doorway, his expression unreadable. Then, after a pause, he stepped forward and wrapped an arm around me, in what I guess was meant to be a goodbye hug. I didn't move. I didn't reciprocate. I just stood there stiff, staring straight ahead. Finally, he pulled away and walked toward the front door. He didn't apologize. He didn't try to make things right. He just left, and then I broke. I sank onto the couch, my body trembling as sobs ripped through me. The house was too quiet, too empty, yet somehow suffocating Mark. The man I had loved more than anything had betrayed me, and in the end, he acted like it was no big deal. Like I was just supposed to accept it. I cried until my chest ached, until my head throbbed, until exhaustion finally took over and I passed out on the couch. I didn't know how much time had passed. When I woke up to the sound of the front door opening, Naomi was home, Mom. Her voice was light at first, but when she stepped into the living room and saw me disheveled, eyes red and swollen, her expression shifted to concern. "What's wrong? Where's Dad?" I swallowed, sitting up slowly. My throat felt raw, my body heavy. Naomi stepped closer, her brows knitting together. "Mom." She repeated, her voice softer now. I rubbed a hand over my face, forcing myself to find the words I had been dreading to say. "He's gone, sweetheart," I murmured. Naomi frowned. "Gone." I exhaled shakily. "He left." My voice cracked, but I pushed through. "He's been seeing someone else for 2 years." The room fell into silence. Naomi stared at me, her face blank, before a flicker of realization dawned in her eyes. What she whispered, I nodded, barely able to hold myself together, and before I could stop myself, the tears spilled over again. To my surprise, Naomi stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me. I couldn't remember the last time she had hugged me like this, and this time it was genuine. She was just as much in shock as I was, but what I didn't know then was that this was only the beginning. The days passed, but the weight of Lisa's betrayal still sat heavy on my chest. Mornings were the hardest, waking up and remembering she was gone, that the life I thought I had was nothing but a lie. It felt like a fresh wound reopening every single day. Naomi was still here, keeping an eye on me, but I could tell she was worried. I caught her watching me sometimes, as if waiting for me to break all over again. And maybe she wasn't wrong to worry. I wasn't okay. How could I be? Lisa had shattered our family, and now, after realizing her mistake, she thought she could just walk back in. But I wasn't that man anymore. I spent most of my time at home, avoiding unnecessary conversations. My brother, Eric, always the rock in my life, stayed by my side. He didn't push me to talk, didn't try to fix anything. He just was there, and for that, I was grateful, but Lisa wasn't done with me yet. She kept calling, texting, trying to wear me down. "Ross, please just talk to me. We can work through this. I know I hurt you, but I love you. I always have." I was just confused. "You're being unfair. You're shutting me out," without even giving me a chance to make things right. Every message made my blood boil. Unfair she had torn our marriage apart. And now I was the one being unfair. I ignored her, and then one evening, Naomi came to me, her expression uneasy. "Dad," she said softly, "I think you should know Mom came by the house today while you were out." I stiffened. "She what?" Naomi nodded. "She didn't come inside. She just stood at the door asking to talk to you. She looked bad." "Good." I bit back the bitterness rising in my throat. I didn't need to know how Lisa looked. I wasn't interested in hearing about her suffering. She had made her choice. "What did you tell her?" I asked. Naomi hesitated. "I told her you weren't home and that even if you were, you probably wouldn't want to see her." I sighed, rubbing a hand over my face. She just doesn't get it, does she? No, Naomi said. I don't think she does the last straw. I thought that was the end of it. That Lisa would take the hint and leave us alone. But I was wrong a few days later. I got a call from an unknown number. At first, I almost ignored it. But something in my gut told me to answer hello. There was a pause, and then Ross, Lisa. I clenched my jaw. What do you want, Lisa? She took a shaky breath. Please, just listen to me. I've done enough listening. I shot back and I'm done. No, you don't understand? Her voice was thick with desperation. I need to see you in person. I scoffed. What could you possibly have to say that you haven't already? There was silence, and then in a voice barely above a whisper. She said it's about Pete. My stomach turned. I don't care what's going on with Pete. You should care, she said. Because he's trying to take everything from me. Ross, and I think he's trying to ruin you too. I agreed to meet her not because I wanted to, not because I missed her, but because something in her voice told me. This wasn't just another plea for forgiveness. This was something else. We met at a small cafe away from the house. I kept my arms crossed watching as Lisa sat across from me, her hands trembling around her coffee cup. She looked awful. Her hair was messy, her skin pale dark circles. Under her eyes talk. I said, my voice cold. Make it quick. Lisa swallowed hard. I made a mistake, Ross. A huge mistake, I scoffed. Yeah, I got that part. She shook her head number. You don't understand, Pete. He used me. I leaned back in my chair unimpressed. I told you from the start he wasn't serious about you. You didn't want to listen? Tears filled her eyes. It's more than that, Ross. He stole from me, I frowned. What, she nodded, gripping her cup, like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. After I left, I moved into a hotel, right? But then Pete finally agreed to let me stay with him. She let out a bitter laugh. At first, I thought I had one. That maybe he just needed time. But then little things started going missing. My jewelry, my credit cards. And then one morning, I woke up and realized my bank account was emptied. My chest tightened. Lisa wiped at her eyes. He took everything, Ross. He drained my savings. He maxed out my credit cards. And then when I confronted him, he laughed in my face, she sniffled. He said I was an idiot for believing him, that he never wanted a future with me, that I was just some pathetic old woman chasing after a fantasy. I stared at her, my emotions tangled between anger and disbelief. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Lisa's gaze flickered with something unreadable. Because it doesn't stop with me. Pete knows everything about us, about you, and now he's trying to use it against you. A cold chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? She hesitated. I think he's planning to go after your business, Ross. My heart pounded. My business. One I had spent years building was my everything. Lisa bit her lip. He knows your contacts. He has access to my emails. And before I left, I made the stupid mistake of talking about everything with him. I felt my jaw tighten. Pete wasn't just some guy who had stolen my wife. He was a thief, a manipulator. And now he was trying to take everything from me. Lisa reached across the table, her hand barely brushing mine. Ross, I know I don't deserve your help. I know I hurt you, but please. We need to stop him before it's too late. I exhaled slowly, my mind racing. Lisa had destroyed our marriage. She had betrayed me in the worst way. But now there was something bigger at play. And whether I liked it or not, Pete had just made this personal. Lisa's words echoed in my mind long after our meeting. Pete isn't done, he wants to ruin you. At first, I wanted to dismiss it. Lisa was a liar, a cheater. Why should I believe a word she said? But the problem was, she wasn't the only one who had noticed something strange. That same morning, Eric had called me. "Ross, you need to check your business accounts." He'd said I saw a few irregular transactions. Could be nothing, but something doesn't feel right. And now Lisa was telling me Pete had access to private information. I wasn't about to ignore a warning, no matter who it came from. That night, I sat at my desk combing through my financial records. At first glance, everything seemed normal, but then I noticed a series of small, unauthorized transactions. They weren't big enough to draw immediate attention, but they were suspicious someone had been testing my accounts. I clenched my fist, Pete. I needed proof before I made a move. So I called Eric. "I need you to help me track Pete down." Eric didn't hesitate. "I'm on it." The truth comes out. By the next day, Eric had dug up exactly what I feared. Pete had a history. He had been involved in multiple fraud schemes, jumping from one woman to the next, using them for money and vanishing before they caught on. Lisa had just been his latest victim, but now he had gotten greedy. I called Lisa. "You are right," I said. "Pete's a con artist and he's coming after me." Lisa let out a shaky breath. "What do we do?" I wasn't sure why she was asking me. This wasn't my problem to fix. But Pete had made it my problem the moment he targeted my business. "We stop him," I said. The confrontation. Pete had been staying at a luxury condo Lisa had been paying for, at least until he drained her accounts. That night, Eric and I drove over there. Lisa came too. Though I wasn't sure if it was out of guilt or desperation. We knocked, no answer. Eric banged harder, "Pete. Open up." Silence. Lisa bit her lip. Maybe he's not the door cracked open. Pete stood there looking far too relaxed for a man caught red-handed. Well, he said, smirking. "If it isn't the happy family..." I stepped forward. "We need to talk." Pete chuckled, leaning against the doorframe. "Talk about what? The fact that Lisa ran back to you." The second she realized she wasn't getting her fairy tale ending, Lisa flinched. I ignored him. "I know what you've been doing. The stolen money, the fraud. You've been trying to get into my accounts." Pete raised an eyebrow. "And do you have proof?" Eric pulled out a folder. "Plenty." For the first time, Pete's smirk faded. "See," Eric continued. "Lisa might have been stupid enough to fall for your act. But Ross isn't, and neither am I." Pete's jaw tightened. "You can't prove anything." I took a step closer. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return every last cent you stole from Lisa, and you're going to stay the hell away from my business. Or I'll make sure the cops get involved." Pete scoffed. "You're bluffing." Eric pulled out his phone and held up the screen. "Am I?" Pete's face paled. The screen showed an email draft addressed to a fraud investigator, complete with evidence attached. Lisa swallowed hard. "I already spoke to the bank. If you don't pay me back, they'll open an official case against you." Pete's eyes darted between us, weighing his options finally. He let out a low curse. "Fine, I'll transfer the money back." Lisa crossed her arms, all of it. His jaw clenched, but after a long pause, he pulled out his phone a few minutes later. Lisa's phone pinged. She checked her account and let out a shaky sigh of relief. "It's there," she whispered. Pete glared at us. "You think you've won?" I met his gaze without flinching. "No, Pete. I know we have moving forward." The next morning, Lisa packed her things and left town. She didn't ask for another chance. She knew there wasn't one. I watched her go with no regrets. She had made her choices, and so had I. As for Pete, I made sure to spread the word about him. He wouldn't be pulling the same con again. At least not anywhere near my world and me. I was done looking back. It was time to move on for real this time.